Hi, my name is Leanne Hadley. I'm so glad to be with you. We are starting a new session in Pieta called Holy Listening. I am the founder of a process called God-Centered Spiritual Transformation, and a core piece of that is holy listening. And so we're going to spend the next 4 sessions together learning about holy listening. And I hope that at the end of this, you will want to do the additional work to become certified in holy listening. This is free to you. There is no cost. I just feel like the time has come for us to remember what a healing gift listening really is. So I'm glad that you're here, and I want to start with a brief story of how I ended up being an expert in holy listening, or how I ended up developing this model of holy listening. So as a child, I was sick. Let me start there. And I was in the hospital quite a bit, and no pastors visited me. Now, one reason was because my dad was a pastor, but the other reason was that pastors didn't visit children. They didn't have spiritual needs, I guess, back in 1964 when I was a little girl. So I said to my dad, and I asked everybody from then on, why didn't anybody visit me? I needed a pastor. And then other things happened in my life. And again, I thought, why doesn't anyone think that I need a pastor? Everybody was so busy just teaching me Bible stories and letting me sing in the choir. And I thought, why don't I get pastoral care? And I watched my dad offering all this pastoral care to all these people. And I thought, why don't I get it? And then I looked around and I thought, why isn't the spiritual life of children taken seriously? So then I went to seminary. I studied the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross in high school and decided that I would work with dying children, and that I would be a pastor for children, and I would do for children what adult pastors did for adults. So rather than just do Christian ed, I would visit children. I would understand their spiritual lives. I didn't realize that there was no such degree at the time. So I went to seminary, I got my Master's of Divinity, and luckily, Leonard Sweet, who is a pioneer and a forward-thinking person, I spoke to Leonard and I told him what I was, trying to do. And he said, if there is no degree like that, then let's just create one. He was my seminary president. So we did. So I did my seminary work, and I worked as a chaplain in a children's hospital. And I designed what was, in essence, the first degree offered for people who wanted to work in the spiritual lives of children. As far as I know, it is the first degree. And in fact, it wasn't a real degree back then. Leonard said, you earned a degree, and I said I did, and that's where that started. So I did all of my seminary work, and then I did like a second curriculum, like a self-guided curriculum to say, how do we do this work with children? So, and I was pretty comfortable that children needed pastoral care. So I got out of seminary, wanted to be a chaplain for the rest of my life, and that didn't work out for me, and I ended up in a local church, and started just teaching children everything I knew, like back to Christian ed. And increasingly, I realized the same thing I knew as a child. I remembered, we aren't doing pastoral care with children. And I didn't feel equipped, even though I had this degree. I didn't know what to do. I knew how to do Christian ed with kids. I didn't know how to do pastoral care. But I knew that it was needed. So eventually, I got a group of women together. We prayed for a year. And I decided to start First Step Spirituality Center. And that's a whole long thing about how we started that, and how originally I thought it would be support groups, and it ended up being one-on-one spiritual support. But I started working with children who were hurting for any reason. So our mission was spiritual support of hurting kids and teens at no cost. And it was in Colorado Springs, proudly over Tony's Bar and Grill. And I was the little office over Tony's Bar and Grill. And anyway, so did that for a lot of years. And people started saying, will you come and teach us what you're doing with these hurting children? And I really didn't know what I was doing. I was doing it intuitively. But fortunately, one of my professors from United Theological Seminary, Don Rogers, contacted me and said, we should study your method. We should codify your method. How would you like to get a doctorate in this method and a doctor of ministry, and you can teach the class, and we'll have a cohort look at this. So I began my doctoral of ministry classes, and I worked with Dawn and with a group of people, and we looked at the model, and I was able to study my model. So I didn't know that there was like a rhythm to it. I just was intuitively doing this. What I did notice is that some children got better and some children didn't. And so I used the verbatims, and I did this whole study like you would for a doctorate. And I looked at the verbatims, the conversations that I'd have with children over a series of weeks and months. And what I noticed is this pattern. And it's that pattern which is now called the God-centered spiritual transformation model. It's also called the U-shape of spiritual transformation. It looks like this. This is my original model that I did, way back on my computer. And it basically, you see, makes a U. And so a lot of people call this the U-shape model of spiritual transformation. And since that, I've simplified it even more. And this is what the model looks like now. And it basically says that somebody comes in and they go into a space of authenticity, of truth, of honesty, and they come out the other side and they are transformed. So this is the model, and this is what we're going to be studying. And particularly this spiritual tools are going to be what we're looking at to how to get somebody to tell you their truth. So this is the model. It's called God-centered spiritual transformation, holy listening, and it's also called the U-shape of spiritual transformation. That's what most people call it. So let me show you. When I started this work with healing, I thought that healing looked like this. I thought that someone was happy, something bad happened to them, and then they returned to happy. I thought our job is to take somebody who's been happy and something happened to and get them back to happy. But the more I worked with children, the more I studied, lived my own life, the more I talked to adults, I realized that this model has a flaw. There's a problem with this model. And the problem is this. The old model, which was, you're okay, you're not okay, you're okay again. That isn't what happens when you grieve. You're okay. You go into a place of hurt, trauma, whatever it is, distress. You come out of that, you do heal, but you're not the same. So, for example, if you're a 4-year-old and you lose your mother, you can heal from that and you can be happy again. You will be happy again, but you won't be the same happy. You've gone through a period of transformation. And I noticed this U-shaped pattern beginning. And so I studied this in my doctorate. And then what I discovered is that true healing looks more like this. So it starts out, you're okay, you're not okay, you'll be happy again. You are happy again. But that trauma that affected you, it never fully goes away. It still informs the person that you are, but what you find is hope, resiliency, God, whatever you want to call that thing, you say, I can do this, I can make it. One little girl described this as a tornado. She said, before her father had killed himself, and she said, before my father killed himself, I was like standing on solid ground. And then I was just like whipping around in a tornado. And now the tornado is still there. I mean, I know what happened to me, and I don't know that I'll ever get over my dad's death, but I know I can stand firm again, and I can be happy. So this is healing, and I call this spiritual integration, where you're happy again, but the thing that has affected you, and you have hope, resiliency, you'll be all right, you're strong again. So that's what the new model, the spiritual transformation model, ends up looking like. This is what you're looking for. You're not looking for a person to return here, everything's fine, everything's great, it's over here. And for most people, you're going to have a lot of happies over here, a lot of thunderbolts over here, and then also a lot of opportunity to discover how resilient you are. You can only do this, though, I think, if you have someone to journey with you. And that's the role of the holy listener. That's what holy listening is all about. It says to somebody, I know life looks like this, and I will travel with you through that process. So holy listeners hold sacred space. So it looks like this. We're holding sacred space. So we're the heart. We bring God's love and our love into the situation, and our belief that this person will get better. That heart holds all of us, and we promise to be there in the good times, in the bad, and as they heal. And so this is what I'm calling us to do, is to hold sacred space with other people and to help them heal and to help them get through life's difficulties. knowing that they're not alone. So that's what we're going to train about. And we hope to bring about some of that spiritual integration. The neat part about this is that I studied this. I came up with this model, and we're going to look at the model for the next 3 weeks. I came up with this model, and then what I discovered was that not only, then we after I did this model, I started using it, then I went and more people studied it. 80 congregations studied this model across the world. And again, we did a study of it. And what we discovered is that 3 things happen when you follow this model. One is people are changed and they tell stories about it. The second thing is the people around them have stories. They're saying, wow, they were really hurting. They're doing better. So the person is changed. People around them, their parents, their friends, people like that notice a difference. But the third thing is that the person who is the holy listener, the person that's holding the sacred space for God, they are transformed as well. And so this is not only a technique or a way of being that's going to help other people, it's a way that we're going to grow spiritually as well. Because when someone is authentic, then you have permission to be authentic. When someone else heals and you watch that journey, you discover your own resiliency. This is a win-win. And I think that's how God created us, to be in community. Nobody should have to suffer alone ever. And this is not a replacement for therapy. This is not a replacement for mental health care and things like that. This is just basic listening, person to person. And while I know that a lot of people need therapy and a lot of people need help, everyone needs a listener. I believe that I could go to a restaurant, grocery store, go out on the street, meet anybody, and if I listened long enough, they would tell me something about their pain. Nobody is pain-free. We all have our issues, we're all struggling, and we can train ourselves to be sacred listeners, holy listeners for people that need us. So that's our journey. Today, when you're listening to this video, our questions, there's 2 questions that I would have you discuss. One is, where do you see the most pain in your own life? Like, are you suffering pain and could use a holy listener? Do you know people that are in pain right now? And you might think about your family, your community, and then even the greater, your church, whatever the greater body that you work with is. Where do you see the most pain? And do you see ways, just from this brief overview, that holy listening might work for you? So discuss those questions, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you will go on this journey and that you will become a holy listener. And for those of you who want to get a certificate, in case you're wondering, it's a very simple process. What you're going to do is just practice holy listening a couple times, send me a verbatim or a script of what happened, and I have a little form for you to fill out, and then I'll give you feedback. And then if you feel like, okay, I can do this and I want to do this, then we'll give you a certificate of completion of the program, and then you can practice holy listening. This isn't rocket science. It's listening. We just live in a time that's kind of forgot how powerful listening can really be. So I just want to remind us that listening, compassion, love is one of the greatest gifts we've been given. And I fear we're forgetting how to use that. So thank you for being on this journey. I will see you next time. Thank you.